We have a couple of stories to talk about in today's episode of the Rams Digest. We're going to be breaking down what Davante Adams had to say about Sean McVay and his recruitment of Davante Adams this offseason. We're also going to discuss what grade the Rams are getting in free agency. We'll talk about another free agent actually the Rams brought in that may have gone under the radar. All that and much more on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron. Remember, if you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, press that subscribe button now, as 71.7% of you guys are watching the videos, but you're still not subscribed to the channel. Do me a favor, press that subscribe button now so you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. Before we get into the stories, I want to hear a quick word from the sponsor for today's video. We are incredibly excited to be kicking off our March Madness bracket here for the channel. We're going to be partnering up with the Hot Takes app and other Digest channels for this event. It's completely free to sign up. All you got to do is download the Hot Takes app, go ahead and click over the March Madness banner at the top, and under Group, select the Digest Media Pool. This is extremely exciting, guys. We're talking about over $25,000 in prizes to be won, and since there's a much smaller pool of people participating, there's a real chance of winning big compared to other bracket challenges out there. Check out the link below or scan the QR code to download the app, and make sure to use the promo code DIGEST in all caps. Again, that's DIGEST in all caps to get exclusive perks when signing up. It's completely free, a serious chance to win. So do me a favor, if you guys have any questions at all, go ahead and hit the email down below. Other than that, thank you to Hot Takes for this opportunity, and I hope to see you all there in the March Madness pool. All right, first things first, I did want to kind of talk about this story here. It's Davante Adams, what he had to say about Sean McVay recruiting him to the Rams this offseason. Now, of course, I do want to acknowledge, and I think Davante Adams even acknowledged it himself, that it's not just Sean McVay saying, I want Davante Adams, go get me Davante Adams. It's a team effort. Obviously, a lot of people involved in terms of bringing in a player like Davante Adams, but there was some recruiting going on from Sean McVay, his perspective. Sean McVay helped recruit Davante Adams. This is coming from Davante Adams himself. We'll hear a quote from what Davante Adams said in his press conference right now in a second. But, it's kind of interesting, right? When you have the head coach out there pushing for this guy, and then when it's kind of rumored that this is possibly something that can happen, for Sean McVay to go out of his way to do what he did in terms of recruiting Davante Adams is pretty cool to see. So when asked in his press conference, the question was straight up, how do you describe Sean McVay as a recruiter? Davante Adams said, aggressive. I'll say aggressive. And he laughed and kind of did say, it was obviously in every positive sense of the word aggressive. He was very, very positively aggressive in terms of recruiting me. And, here's the direct quote from Davante Adams after he said he was aggressive. He said he sent me a couple of highlight tapes of myself narrating. It was kind of like John Gruden-esque a little bit. He how he is with ball. He was breaking down every clip. I thought he took that job on TV for a minute. When I was watching, it just shows how much ball means to him, how much of a priority I was to him. That's Davante Adams on the recruitment of Sean McVay for Davante Adams to come join the Rams. And so, that's my thing, is like Sean McVay, obviously he can just say, hey, hey, Davante, we're really excited to have you here. Hopefully you can come out and sign with us. We would love to have you with the team. This is kind of how we would want to use you and whatever, kind of keep it simple in that nature. And I've always thought as a fan, I'm like, why wouldn't coaches and GMs go a little bit more out of their way, or even for example, pregame, all right, you're trying to hype a team up, right? Are NFL coaches showing these guys maybe what media heads are saying in the media, and when people are picking against them or things like that to kind of hype the team up? I'm curious about coaches and front offices doing things like that seem like kind of an easy way to either motivate players or kind of bring players in. And Sean McVay is there's a clear example here of him going out of his way to go ahead and put together highlight tapes, him narrating them, kind of saying, hey, this is a film breakdown of what I like, what we can maybe bring and use you in our offense, where we can use you. And I think that's ultimately kind of an incredible factor in terms of Davante Adams when he's picking and choosing his teams. He actually continues his quote and says, there's other teams that didn't really show they wanted me this bad. You know what I mean? And Sean McVay going out of his way to do these things actually did genuinely have an impact on Davante Adams choosing and deciding to come play in Los Angeles with the Rams. By the way, shout out to Davante Adams. I don't know if you guys noticed. He has a really cool, unique LA hat that I had never really seen, but also on the side of his hat, it actually said City of Champions. And so you had an actual World Series championship, an NBA championship, and of course the Super Bowl trophy all on his hat on the side. That was a pretty cool hat. Well, I'm kind of curious where we can get that. But shout out to Davante Adams for kind of being open about this conversation and kind of hearing, letting us know a little bit of an insight on how it was in terms of his perspective of Sean McVay and his recruitment of him coming to LA. So pretty cool to see. Moving on from that, free agency grade, right? I think a lot of Rams fans will say, hey, A, all right, automatically give us an A. We're going to go over a little bit of some of the key free agents that the Rams have brought in. Actually talk about one that we haven't really mentioned much on the channel, and so I kind of want to bring him up just to kind of acknowledge that the Rams brought this player on the offensive line. But we'll talk about some key players that they have brought in so far. But here is the PFF storyline, or this is from Sports Illustrated, but PFF is actually giving the Rams a grade in terms of their free agency class this year. And obviously, I think a lot of Rams fans can expect the grade to be pretty high, I think, right? You bring in Davante Adams, you bring in Puka Nacua, you're ready to win a Super Bowl. I know a lot of Rams fans feel that way, and so it has to be anything. What could it be anything less than an A, right? And so here's these the first off the list. We'll give the list of some of these interesting names here that the Rams have brought in this offseason. The Los Angeles Rams from PFF, they get an A- for their free agency signings. Of course, maybe why the minus? Why not just leave us at an A? But overall, I'm not going to argue with it too much. The Rams get a good grade for their free agency class, right? And so they brought in the one player we have not really discussed here on the channel is Coleman Shelton. We'll go into more detail about him. He's a center from the Chicago Bears. Actually, maybe some of you guys are familiar with him. He actually played for the Rams for the first 4 years, essentially, of his career. He played on the practice squad for the Niners, practice squad for the Cardinals, but overall played for the Rams for the first 4 seasons of his career before signing with Chicago last year, and then now coming back to Los Angeles. He's actually a Los Angeles-born native here to Los Angeles. So shout out to Coleman Shelton. We'll talk about some details about him in a second, but obviously want to acknowledge Puka Nacua, the big defensive tackle signing, the essential 3-year, $29 million deal for him, $17 million of that being guaranteed. Very good deal to bring an interior defensive lineman to the team. Again, something that the Rams needed, a big body in the middle of that defense to help slow the run and stuff the run while also still having some ability to go after the quarterback. That's what the Rams got in Puka Nacua. Jimmy Garoppolo, nice backup quarterback for the Rams. So obviously that's something there that is important for the Rams. They definitely need someone behind Matthew Stafford in case of injury that is a capable quarterback. Again, obviously a very interesting relationship with Davante Adams, and we'll see if unfortunately, we're hoping not, but if Stafford has to miss any time this year, to see that kind of connection reconnect here in Los Angeles is going to be kind of a little bit of a story in its own right, especially if we know ahead of time, right, if that Matthew Stafford's going to miss a game this season, and we know Jimmy G starting. That's going to be definitely a story the media will run with, but overall, still happy to have a capable quarterback at backup in Jimmy G to be able to run the show in case of an injury. And then, we could talk a little bit about these two guys here before we get into the Coleman Shelton details. Davante Adams, of course, the major signing of the offseason. 2 years, $44 million with $26 million guaranteed. Pretty good deal according to PFF. Of course, it's Davante Adams, 32 years old, yes, but he still averaged about 2 yards per route run. So, kind of tied for 27th among all wide receivers. Not really the best in terms of that, but that also is taking into consideration who he was playing with the Raiders specifically, and then obviously with the Jets and how where Aaron Rodgers is at this point in his career. And then obviously the offensive lineman coming back here, the offensive left tackle here for the Rams, Alaric Jackson, re-signing with the Rams, 3 years, $57 million. Kind of went under the radar, right? Because at the time we were also discussing maybe the trade of Stafford, the trade of Cooper Kupp, and so we weren't really talking about Alaric Jackson, but it's a big time signing for the Rams to keep their left tackle, 26-year-old left tackle, might I add, to be that solidified piece at the left tackle position. Again, that offensive line in general can now get some cohesion together, staying together. Obviously, we'll see a little bit of a battle at the center position. 2 years, $10 million for Coleman Shelton is actually pretty big time, right? That's actually a decent amount of money for, even though it's $6 million guaranteed, it's a decent amount of money that's showing that the Rams are bringing him in probably for competition with Bo Limmer at the center position. And that's why I kind of want to talk about him a little bit more for a second. And we're just going to dive in real quick to kind of acknowledge his past. Again, he spent some time as an undrafted free agent. Signed with the Niners practice squad, the Arizona Cardinals practice squad, but also played with the Rams from 2019 all the way to 2023. We see here he obviously played some games and some snaps on the special team side of things, but we're talking about the offensive line side of things from 2022 to 2023. He spent some time starting for the Rams, 13 games in 2022 and 17 games in 2023. Here are his penalty numbers. So we're talking about one holding in each of his last 2 seasons with the Rams. He had a 5 false starts total in his seasons with the Rams, and then all penalties in general, 4 and 5. So 9 penalties total we're talking about from the center position when we're talking about Coleman Shelton. But last season, he had 2 holding penalties, and that's it. He had 2 penalties on the year. So he's improved. I think actually PFF gave, sorry, I'm putting this ahead already. I don't know if I have the other numbers here for Coleman Shelton, but we're talking about Coleman Shelton here. We'll leave it at this page. he ultimately last year with the Bears actually had his highest grade with PFF. PFF, I don't know how you guys feel about their grades and whatnot, but if you guys do take those grades to heart, he had his highest graded season at the center position last year with the Chicago Bears. So the Rams bringing in a guy who they're familiar with, who's familiar with the system, familiar with Matthew Stafford as well, to come in again and compete with Bo Limmer. And a lot of Rams fans out there in the comments have mentioned they don't really want Bo Limmer to be starting. I think, look, let him battle with Coleman Shelton. You got another capable offensive lineman in the mix. See if at least we have some depth with Coleman Shelton, but if not, maybe a competition piece for Bo Limmer at the center position. So overall, I think the Rams did a great job this offseason. Near perfect offseason. I'm looking at guys in free agency like Kaiser White at the linebacker position, maybe Isaiah Simmons at the linebacker position. I know a couple Rams fans, you guys said that in the comments as well. So Isaiah Simmons, maybe a Raekwon McMillan from the Patriots, right? There's some interesting names out there. I know CJ Mosley from the Jets also got released. A little bit of older leader on defense, but that could be a veteran piece the Rams could add for cheap at the linebacker position as well. So overall, I think the Rams have some options still at the linebacker position, defensive back position. They also still have the draft. And so I think the Rams are in a really, really great spot right now in terms of their team building for the next season to compete now, but also kind of ready to compete in the future as well, right? So the Rams are in a really, really great spot at this point in time. Trivia of the day for today. We're going to talk about trivia of the day. If you guys have never played this game before, we do this on the end of every single episode that I'm on here with the Rams Digest. I give a trivia question, some multiple choice options. You give your guess, and we'll give you a shout out on the next episode if you're correct. I appreciate everyone who played along this time around because we did actually have quite a bit of people play, so I always appreciate that. The last trivia of the day for last episode was a pretty easy one. It was new Rams wide receiver Davante Adams set school records for touchdown catches at what California college? That was a question I posed. And of course, I find the stats for Coleman Shelton after the fact there. The multiple choice options for what school Davante Adams went to. And I think a pretty easy one for some. But hey, if you got it wrong, it's okay, as I just dropped the card. So give me a second. Okay, I'm back. The multiple choice options were A, San Diego State. Was it B, UC Davis? Was it C, Stanford? Or was it D, Fresno State? And so I want to give a shout out to these special folks right here who did give their trivia guesses for the last trivia of the day. We had MM's Jr. saying, I believe you went to Fresno State. Not me, but Davante Adams. Brian B. says Fresno State with a championship trophy. We have Noxium saying Fresno State. We had Stasia saying Fresno State. We had David saying Fresno State. We had Floyd saying San Diego State with the flex emoji. By the way, a little bit of an inside joke there. I've been telling Floyd I told him last episode to be more confident in his answers. Instead of putting a question mark, I see you putting that flex emoji, San Diego State. Appreciate you, Floyd. We'll keep it here. We'll also move to the other shout-outs here because a lot of people guessed this time around. Shout out to the real J. Will. He says, man, that's Fresno State from Derek Carr. We had Batman62 saying Davante Adams played at Fresno State with Derek Carr. We have a San Diego State guess here from Joseph Briseno. Willie Woodall says San Diego State, alma mater of Marshall Falk. And as Zaire Hakeem, we have Jesus saying A, San Diego State. So some pretty great guesses there. I appreciate all you guys for playing along and guessing. I'll go ahead and shout you guys all right here, back to back here. So shout out to everybody here on the list. If you guys want to shout out on the next trivia of the day, go ahead and play along after this trivia answer. We'll go ahead and give the next trivia of the day. The answer for the question was not San Diego State, unfortunately. Shout out to you guys who guessed that, but it was Fresno State with the one and only Derek Carr. They did play alongside each other there at Fresno State, so shout out to all you guys for guessing. Shout out to the ones who got it right. Shout out to the ones who got it wrong. I always appreciate you guys playing along regardless. You want to play along with today's episode, you go ahead and give your guess for this trivia of the day. The Rams retired jersey number 74 to honor what Hall of Fame defensive lineman? Again, this is a Rams question, so very, very interesting to see who, your guesses here. It's okay if you get it wrong. Doesn't mean you're not a real Rams fan here. It's listed here on this trivia question as a hard one. So, well, for Rams fans, I know a lot of Rams fans out there may think this one's the easy one. So, the Rams retired jersey number 74 to honor what Hall of Fame defensive lineman? Go ahead and give your guesses now. If you guys are confident in it and you want to don't even need the multiple choice options, go ahead and give your guesses. But for those who maybe are a little bit stuck here, I'll give you some multiple choice guesses. Don't worry. The Rams retired number 74 to honor which one of these players? Was it A, Deacon Jones? Was it B, Merlin Olsen? Was it C, Lamar Lundy? Or was it D, Roosevelt Greer? Give your guesses down below in the comments. I'll give you shout outs on the next episode, whether you get it right, whether you get it wrong. I appreciate you guys for playing along. That's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Giron, and I am out.